what is the end goal of all this? Like, to get rich, to make a living doing this, or?
All right. Well, welcome to the Indigenous Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today I have Chaz Rose with me.
Yes.
He is a marketing professional and he is starting his own marketing company. So I'll let you introduce yourself and your business, and then we'll just get started with the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Chaz Rose, like you said, and I am half Jemez Pueblo. And I've recently moved back to New Mexico in early August of this year. And I came back to start my own marketing company, Towa Marketing Consultants. And I am very excited to be back here in New Mexico and be home and be able to start this journey in my company here.
So why did you decide to move back? Like, I know to start your company, but what kind of led to that decision? Like, why did you want to come back?
Yeah, I'll take a step back and kind of start in the beginning. So I lived in Missouri my whole life, and my mom is full Jemez Pueblo. And she divorced my dad when I was around 12, and I stayed in Missouri. And we would always come out for Christmas, New Year's, our feast days, August 2nd. And I continued that once my parents got divorced. And I graduated from Missouri State with a degree in marketing and advertising. I really fell in love with that in college and found a really cool company that I worked with for 7 years. And I knew that I was in the right place as far as marketing. I loved it. I loved the conversations I had with business owners. It was very intriguing to me. So fast forward 7 years that I've been to that company, opportunities just became available, and I was able to bring this idea I had up to our general manager and got his input and was able to move out to New Mexico and start this company. So to answer your question, I knew I wanted to do early on, and I absolutely love it. And so now I have the opportunity to take what I've learned through college and the 7 years of doing this on a day-to-day basis and bring it home to a local level and be able to help Indigenous business owners. And then I got to meet you at a social event, and it's all just been incredible. But just the opportunity, the knowledge that I gained, and being able to bring it back home to New Mexico and work with Indigenous business owners and entrepreneurs is something that really caught my eye and interests me very much.
So I know there's a little bit of a story behind Towa Marketing. What does the name mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So Walla Towa is what Jemez is in our culture. And so I knew that was important to me. I didn't know what I wanted my company to be called, but it's very important to me that I'm an Indigenous business owner. So just thinking around different topics, and my logo is almost done. It's so close, but it's a storyteller, and that's big in our culture. And my tagline is "Let us tell your story."
Oh, that's awesome.
Right, absolutely. Every business has a story to tell, whether it's just a mom and pop shop or it's Google, And so I'm here to listen to the business owners and tell their story. That's what I do. That's what my job is at the end of the day. It's a storyteller. So it all came together with Towa Marketing Consultants, and my logo is very centered around the storyteller. So really just embracing our culture, and it's pretty cool to tie in those two aspects. And I come from a family all of artists, so my grandma makes storytellers. So I grew up, traveling to art shows, and I would do work in pottery as well, and that's something that I think really helped me where I am today, because I would go around to Indian Market or Prescott, and I was 11, 12, 13 years old, selling the pottery I was making, but having high-level conversations with adults. And, I was an entrepreneur at that moment, whether I realized it or not, but selling myself, selling my product. And I think those conversations are invaluable and something that you don't necessarily learn in a classroom.
Yeah.
So it all just tied together with my vision of my company. really leaning into being what's important to me, which is being Amos Pueblo and an indigenous business owner. So with that came Towa Marketing Consultants.
That's awesome. That sounds like it just fits perfectly.
I literally came up with the idea in the shower one morning. Some of the best ideas to come up in the shower. I was just like, Towa Marketing Consultants. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know you're kind of in the beginning stages of creating your company, which I think is exciting because we can talk to you now and then maybe like later on when you've established yourself a little bit more. But I'm just kind of wondering what are you thinking like when it comes to incorporating? Are you going to become an LLC, sole proprietor? Have you thought about that yet? And then also, is it like remote? Are you going to be located on or off tribal land? Like what is it looking like?
Absolutely. So when I moved back, I started an LLC. That was one of the first things that I needed to do. I had a pretty good checklist of how of what to accomplish. And I have a home office. Everything right now is online, and it allows me to really, I don't have any overhead costs at this point. So that's really nice where I'm starting out. And everything's online, and I just go face to face. I'm the sole person in my company, but I do have some unique tactics are not the right words, unique resources available because I still have a team back in Missouri. So even though it's just me talking and come up with strategies, I have a whole team to help implement. So that can be really nice. So it's an LLC, just me online. I don't have an office on reservation land. And now that's something maybe in my 5-year plan I would absolutely love to do. But for right now, it's just working with indigenous business owners, and through you in the tribal entrepreneurship program, it's already helped me to start meeting the right people, and the referrals. I'm sure we'll get into this later on the podcast, but the referrals that you've already sent me via email and the communications that I've started have been so helpful with this current process, because it is in the beginning. Like I said, I spent 7 years in Missouri working with business owners, so I'm very confident in what my company is and how to work with business owners. That's not the concern, if there is one. Where I need help, and what's great is you've already provided it or are providing it, is what I say is the back end of the company. Things that people don't see. The tax structure here in New Mexico. It's something that I don't know, nor do I really want to know. But so I will have a conversation, with the CPA, and it's very important to surround yourself with the right people. You're not going to know every question, every answer, or even know what questions to ask. But that's what I'm excited about in working with you. Is I don't feel so scared for these concerns because I don't have to figure it out all by myself. So I think it will be cool, 6 months down the road to see with all these resources how quickly I've gained momentum, because I don't have to be stuck in just doing hours and hours of research. You guys are providing that, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you feel like you're benefiting from it. That's one of the roles we play, is just like as a super connector. So I'm glad that that's been helpful to you. So I do think that it's smart, that you're remote right now. I don't even know if you'll necessarily need to have a physical location, but like you said, you never know. You could want to do that, but there are like a lot of nuances, that come with running and starting like a physical location on tribal land. I'm wondering, because you're still, early on in the process, if you've come across any challenges thus far with starting your business, and if so, what have those challenges been?
I knew the challenges coming into this was just being known. I grew up here in Albuquerque and in Haines as a kid, but nothing in the business world. So I knew moving out here that was going to be a big hurdle, is just how do I become known as a resource? And it can take some time. And so I knew that I wanted to connect with the community, but I didn't necessarily know what that looked like. So being indigenous, I looked up the Chamber of Commerce has an indigenous program section, and so that's where I met you. And that was my initial hurdle, is just how do I become known as a resource?
Yeah.
How do I get connected in this business world? Can be overwhelming. It's like the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you get noticed in the business community? And because it all starts with just making those connections, but it can be hard. We're not in fourth grade anymore, and it's easy to go meet someone in the schoolyard. It can be difficult the older that we get, especially in a new city where I don't have the business connections. So that was the hurdle going into it, and right away I identified it, and that's why I went to one of the socials. And from there, like you said, I've seen this super connector happen. And I've just, with the questions that I've asked you, you've been able to put me to the right connectors, the resources. Because for me, excuse me, it's like I said, the back end of starting a business. You don't know what you don't know, right? And I've never owned my own business. I've worked with a lot of business owners, so I understand the nuances of running it, but not starting a business. Like I said, the tax questions are a lot that I have, and just finding those business connections, a good lawyer, a good CPA, just people that you need to surround yourself when you're starting a business. And if I wasn't able to find you and start building a team around me, I would still be able to get it done, but it would be so much harder. I mean, you guys make it so, the barrier of entry, make you feel like there really isn't one, because it can be overwhelming. Oh, here's me. I have an idea to start a business, but how do I get going? And it can be so overwhelming that oftentimes people probably don't even start. So at least with me, this is a long time coming. Like I said, I spent 7 years working on my craft, what I do, before I thought, okay, I think I'm ready to start my own business. But even through those 7 years, I just crafted a certain part of that business that I'm confident in. But with you guys, it helps on everything else that I would, and I wouldn't even call them concerns, because we're able to identify them before they become a major concern or problem. And that's been really helpful.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's great feedback for us, for sure. So your business is like, you're a business providing service to other businesses. So if there's businesses listening to this, like, what kind of things could you potentially help them with regarding their marketing? What, like, how does that process look? Like, just first of all, I guess, what can you help businesses with? And then what does the process look like of you helping them?
Absolutely. And it definitely is a process. And it's a systematic process, and it starts with asking questions and listening. So many times I've learned in this business is people come to a business owner with already an idea on how to fix their business, or they already think that they know the problem. And what I do is sit down and listen and ask questions. At the end of the day, I'm solving business pains. And we're doing that by, there's hundreds of ways that can happen. But when I sit down with a business owner, and if everything's going great, that they're hitting monthly projections, sales are out the wazoo, then I'll say, that's awesome. You probably don't need my help. And I'll shake their hand, and maybe I need to pick their brain.
Yeah.
But oftentimes what happens is, let's just say something that I hear a lot is, Chaz, I've been open in this location for 2 years, and I get people every day coming in saying, oh, I didn't know you were here. I just now found out about you. And if a business owner hears that every day, day after day, week after week, that can become a big enough business pain that they want to do something about it. But that's just the first start, right? Okay, I know I have a problem. I know I need to do something about it, but now how do I do that? So that's where I can come in with the business owner, and through listening, asking questions, I will build a custom marketing plan, and it's a full funnel marketing plan. For every business out there, there's a customer journey pipeline. Doesn't matter what you sell, what you do, it fits. And it starts with unaware, just like how my company is to 99.9% of people out there right now. You don't know. And then at the end of it is you're an advocate. You are the biggest proponent. You love that item. You're going to tell all your friends about it, why they need to use it. But there's so many ways to get to that end point. And oftentimes when I talk with businesses and they say, oh, I tried marketing and it didn't work, or oh, I tried radio or it didn't work, or I tried TV and it didn't work. Well, oftentimes it's because they didn't do a good job in the beginning of setting their goals, their expectations, and why are we doing this tactic? That's also the big. I will never recommend anything for a business owner that I just pick off the wall. You know, if anything, I'm going to over-explain myself on why I'm providing this tactic to you. But at the end of the day, it's listening and helping that business owner come up with that pain or solve that pain. So if the pain is, I get people every day not knowing that I'm here, well, let's look at the tactics that can help alleviate that. And based on the conversation and budget, you know, there's hundreds and hundreds of ways to accomplish that. And my job is to sit down with the business owner, navigate those waters, and decide out of the hundreds or thousands of ways to market your business, what's the best way for you.
Yeah.
And after 7 years, you know, I've learned a lot and I've had a lot of failures and learned from those failures. And you can never know everything in this world, you know, and especially with digital marketing, there's something that's new every single month, it seems like. So I'm a big proponent on continual education. So when I am working with clients, once again, I don't know everything, but I can find the answer if I don't, but I'm constantly learning on what's the new tactics out there. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's good or it's going to work, but it's at least good to know that they're out there. So long answer, I know, but at the end of the day, I work with business owners to solve their business pains. And by doing that, it raises their bottom line. You know, now people are starting to know that they're there and they're telling their friends. And then naturally, 6 months down the line, you see sales starting to grow. But it doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of steps. And what I do is I sit down with the business owner. We create this plan, create small successes, benchmarks, celebrate those. Because something that I see a lot is people want what's called gumball marketing. You know, you stick your quarter in, you turn it, and boom, it's working. And that's just not how marketing works. It takes time. And if you have these conversations with business owners and they understand it's going to take time and why it's going to take time, it really works so much better. Because when you get pushback or it didn't work, I think it's a lack of knowledge
and patience too.
Right. And if you don't have the knowledge, then your patience is gonna you know, be quick because you don't know why it's taking so long to work.
Yeah. So if a business would want to work with you, like how would they just reach out to you, and then do you have like a consultation, or how does that process?
Yeah, I would give out my cell phone and my email, and it definitely just starts with the conversation, a consultation, if you will, I suppose. But it could be Zoom, it could be over, you know, the phone, meet at a Starbucks, and it's just listening. You know, if you have a business problem, let me listen and see if I can come up with a solution. You know, I am a problem solver at the end of the day, and I have 1,000 ways to fix the problem. And based off our questions, let's come up with a fun strategy. So yeah, I mean, I could probably do a high level, just real quick conversation in 15 to 20 minutes. Or it could last, I've had some that are hours, you know. And for each customer, it's different. You know, since I've moved here, I've actually, with a client I have, are developing a secret shopper guide for restaurants. So we're actually going to start our first one this week. We have a client, and I developed a 30-question survey broken down into 3 categories: employee/service, food and drink, and atmosphere. And we go in and, you know, document what we find, and then at the end come and say, here's our findings, here's what we recommend. And so that's just something new that I'm adding to my services. So if anyone is in the restaurant business, we're just starting with restaurants, but there is a need for that my client found. And then with my marketing background, I think that's going to be something that I'm excited to see how that grows.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I've heard of that service. I mean, I have heard of it, but I just, that's not something that I think a lot of businesses think about.
Right, and it's really cool how this came about, and it's just through a referral and a client. She owns a small print shop in Rio Rancho and works with restaurants and business owners in creating menus, flyers, business cards. And this business owner came in, and I think had some business pains of, when he's there, maybe everything's great, but when the boss is away, how does the staff work? What does it look like?
Yeah.
So based off those conversations, and that didn't exist before, but we found that problem and then said, well, let's think of a way that we can solve this. And so we're excited. So, that's a great example of not knowing that we're going to create this secret
business
shopper guide.
Innovation, like finding a need that, not many people think about, and then creating a solution.
Absolutely. Because it's easy to tell someone that, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. You can, okay, but where the value is here's how we're going to fix that, or here's an opportunity. Because, no one just wants to sit there for 30 minutes and be told they're doing everything wrong. Where opportunities of growth, area of growth, we've identified this as something that we need to grow on. Now let's build a system. Let's celebrate the growth. Let's celebrate the benchmarks that we hit along the way. But that's a big thing that I've learned is working with clients is make even bi-weekly goals and achievable and celebrate those, because it can be hard in a long campaign or just as a business owner on just the day-to-day, and maybe you forget to celebrate those little goals. So with my clients, I make sure, hey, let's take a time, pat yourself on the back. We did that. That was great.
Yeah.
And that looks different for every client I work with.
I think oftentimes too, like not just with business, but in general, you have a goal and sometimes it's a huge goal. And instead of like breaking it up into those like smaller goals that'll help you get to that bigger goal, you just look at the big goal and then it seems so impossible to reach. So it's important to, celebrate those little wins and have those micro goals.
Absolutely. I think it makes the job a lot more rewarding, because and I tell my clients this too, it's hard to see the outside of your label when you're inside the bottle.
Yeah.
And I can offer a unique perspective on that too. When business owners are in their business every day, all day, they can kind of get, those blinders on and then have some outside help come. And that also leads me into why I'm so excited to be out here, because I do think I provide a unique perspective with Indigenous business owners, because I did grow up on the reservation. I'm taking part. November 12th is our feast day this Sunday. We have practice tonight that I'm going to. So I'm very still active in our tribe. My grandfather was governor. My uncle was lieutenant governor. And then I have that background, and then I have my marketing and advertising background in Missouri. And where I come from, Springfield, Missouri, everyone laughs at Springfield, like, oh, home of the Simpsons. But it's Albuquerque is twice the size of Springfield. But in Springfield has, I think, 5 Fortune 500 companies there. Bass Pro started in Springfield, O'Reilly Auto Parts. So it's a very business-oriented market. And for me to grow up there and work there for 7 years and work with these business owners, it gives me a unique perspective where I know I can talk the daily grind, the profit and loss statements. We can go in there and talk the business side, but I can merge that with Indigenous business owners and know how important the culture is, and that you probably didn't start this business to make as much money as humanly possible. And that's great. So, and this is what I ask all my clients: what does success mean to you? And that's probably what I start all my meetings with. What does success look like to you? And that's, again, I can't build you a good campaign if I don't know that question. And so many people, my competition may come and just assume they know that question. Not everyone started a business to make as much money as possible or to make money. And I don't want to assume that at all. So by asking that question, what does success look like to you, it really just starts the conversation on a custom strategy.
That's an important starting point for sure. And I don't know if everyone asks themselves that question, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like it takes you back to your why.
Exactly.
Why am I doing this? And you're right, a lot of Indigenous owned businesses, it's not about the money. Sure, it's about building generational wealth, but it's so much more than that. Usually there's a social impact or community impact aspect involved. So I think it is a huge value that you bring in that, like, you know, being able to kind of navigate between two different world views, two different worlds, really.
It can be, absolutely, it can be scary, and because you don't know what you don't know. So as an Indigenous business owner, you know, let's say I think I saw someone on one of your podcasts that maybe sold salsa.
Mm-hmm.
So just use them as an example. They get big enough where they can sell salsa to the state,
Mm-hmm.
and so, oh, hey, I want to have a radio commercial for our salsa. And do, okay, well, how do I do that? Who do I call? You know, there's, you know, how much do I know it's going to cost? It's a whole rate. It's day part. And they shouldn't know that, because why would they? But I've lived that world, so I can help guide them. You know, I can make those conversations. I said, when you work with me, I'm like a lawyer on retainer. You know, use me whenever you want, and I won't bill you as much as a lawyer will, which is good. But I'm here to help navigate those waters, have those conversations that can be difficult if you've never been there before. And so that's what I'm excited to. And just like you said, you know, getting into the business for a community impact, you know, better, you know, social impact. And if you achieve those, then the money is naturally going to come. If you do all of these things right, the money is just a natural byproduct of being a successful business.
Yeah. So on that note of just, you know, community impact, social impact, I'm kind of curious about organizations that have had an impact on you and your business journey. So what are some things, people, organizations, resources that have helped you along your journey thus far?
Right. Because I'm still early in.
Yeah.
And so you've done a great job. And what I'm impressed by, and I'll take a step back and answer the question, but it's how quickly not only you, but everyone in your ecosystem responds. You know, I can tell that's a big emphasis, you know, on everyone that is involved in this. And specifically, a gentleman you referred me to is named Dar, and I met with, and he's on the board of
American Indian.
Yeah, absolutely. So I met with him last Friday, and he did a great job of just going through as a business owner and a mentor on giving advice. And I think for me, it's just a startup and surrounding yourself with these people and who do you need. And he did a good job of explaining, as a business startup, you need to surround yourself with these 5 specific types of people. I think I have it in my notes somewhere.
Yeah, his board of, it's not a board of directors, but it's like your team.
Your brain trust,
yeah.
your family. And I found that to be invaluable. And so I think it's those conversations. I'm a big proponent about listening to people that are smarter than me, that have done it before. And so I think that knowledge is worth its weight in gold. So for me to be surrounded by business owners that have done this for longer than I've been alive, I find a great value in that. And so my biggest hurdle, like I said, without them would be just the startup sides, the red tape, the every little minute detail that goes into the back end of starting the business. You know, what I do for a living is I talk to business owners. You know, I'm not worried about working with clients on my business. That's my strong suit. What's not my strong suit is the tax codes, getting a QuickBooks, the invoicing. You know, I've never invoiced anyone before.
Yeah,
I had a company that did that for me.
Yeah, it's intimidating, all that stuff.
It can be intimidating. And even for someone that I have a marketing and advertising background, and I worked with business owners every day, it's still intimidating when I'm doing it myself. And I think I was smart enough to realize that in the beginning, and I didn't look up and was, drowning. But even if I was, there are lifelines out there, that Your Tribe Entrepreneur program. You connected me with New Mexico State, within Taos. And I should have a list in front of me of the names of everyone, but you've probably sent me 8 different people. And then when you talk to those 8 people, they refer you to another, and then this spider web effect happens. And 3 months ago, when I'm worried about how am I going to be known, fast forward 3 months later, and my week is booked with meetings based on these referrals of getting known. So that's been great, and just utilizing the opportunities that are around you. You know, that's what be my big call for everyone is there's all these programs at SCORE, and they're free, and they want to help businesses. That's what they're there. That's what they exist for. So I'm taking advantage of every opportunity program that I can, because once again, I'm a huge proponent of listening to people that have already done it, and that know more about me. You know, I never want to be the smartest person in the room. So this has done a great job. Once again, from my biggest concern being how am I going to get known, to you can quickly get known. You're not going to do it for us, but you send that email, you provide the name, and I'm pretty good at making an introduction, and that's been very helpful.
And I think one thing that listeners and other entrepreneurs can learn from you, and that some of the other entrepreneurs that I've talked to have mentioned as well, is just taking that initiative. There are a lot of people out there willing to help and wanting to help, and that's literally their job, is to help you. But you also have to take that initiative and respond to the email or attend the workshop, and it does kind of you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. But there are people out there, that once you take that first initiative and that step, it kind of does open up this whole pipeline or web of rainforest, if you will, of resources and opportunities.
Yes, you're not alone, and that's what's so helpful. Businesses have obviously done it alone for years and years, but why, if you don't have to do it that way? Why? If I either have to hike up the mountain for 12 miles or I can take a 4-wheeler right there, I don't want to make it any more difficult than it already has to be. And it's going to be difficult, but you can always have someone to talk to or think it through. And that's big for me. That everyone learns different. Everyone processes information differently. But for me, it helps the best if I just have someone to talk it through. And that's what's nice, is providing those business mentors that are just there to listen. And they're not going to tell you how to do it. And that's not what they should do. But they're going to, based off their experiences, give you, have you thought about it this way? And I think by having someone just to ask you that question can really be invaluable.
So this will be my last question. If someone is interested in pursuing entrepreneurship, but they haven't taken that leap yet, or they're a little hesitant, what is one piece of advice or words of wisdom that you would give to that individual?
If you are, just thinking of an idea as an entrepreneur and it's just in its infancy, but there's a passion there. If you're really passionate about an idea that you have, then I would say at least pick up the phone or your computer and email you, right? Have a conversation. And what's the worst that can happen? You have a few meetings and decide, well, maybe that idea wasn't for me, or that's a great idea. Let's tweak it a little bit. Don't be discouraged because it's oh, I couldn't do that, or I didn't go to college for that. I didn't have a formal education. Maybe that would be my biggest. Don't think just because you didn't have a formal education that you can't be successful. And you offer all these resources, these classes, that if you just have an idea and you're passionate about that idea, I'm not going to say every idea I want to have is going to be a great idea and work, but you're here to help work through that, right? Maybe you find maybe that wasn't the best idea, but let's pivot, and here it is. So just because you don't have a formal education, don't think that you can't be a successful entrepreneur. And there's so many programs out there to help you. And for me, a big one was the money aspect of, looking at loans for my business. I've never, if you're not starting a business, probably you would never know that. And so that's one thing that's helped me with you guys is I'm not, it's, oh, well, I don't know how to get a loan, so I'm not even going to just try. It's too big of a daunting task that I'm not even going to attempt to do it. But with you all, that task doesn't seem so daunting. So don't let that lack of formal education be a deterrent. You can still be very successful, and it just starts with an idea, but then you can cultivate that idea and grow it. And I'm sure you have plenty of success stories that on people that's where it started, and probably look where they're at today.
Yeah, it's baby steps for sure. A lot of the stuff we do, it takes years to like see the fruit, but right now we're planting the seeds. And I always say it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. So it looks like it just happened, but it's like all these different years and lots of hard work that led up to that like overnight success.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then the last thing is, if someone wants to reach out to you to see if they need help with marketing, or if they want a consultation, or just to connect further with you, how can they reach you?
Yeah, I would say right now, if they want to email me at CAR2429, so car2429 @gmail, that would probably be the easiest way. My website is almost up and running, but for right now, that would be the easiest way. Or they could reach out to you, and I would be happy to have, like I said, call it what you want, consultation, conversation on a strategy. And I can help create a strategy. And then if you want to implement it, that's great. But I would love to be a resource and just, help come up with solutions for those business pains.
And I'll link the email address, if that's okay, in the description. And also we have some office hours with Chaz planned for the beginning of December. So if you are in Albuquerque or close to Albuquerque, you can stop by our building or check in with him via Zoom. And I'm going to link that Eventbrite page as well, so people can sign up for that if they're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I said if you're a business owner and just have whatever that daily business pain may be, and I may not be able to solve it, but I'll like to at least have a conversation and see if I can come up with a fun idea to solve it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining and for sharing some of your story. And like I said, I want to have like a follow-up conversation just to see how you're doing, maybe 6 months, a year from now, to see if there's any updates or, challenges you face, successes you've had. And then, we just want to continue to follow you on your journey.
Absolutely. I love it. I'm excited that I get to live this program, and I think it also helps me for others who go through it. I can give them my firsthand experience, and so can so many of your other clients that you've helped and form relationships to. And I think that's an invaluable part of this ecosystem, are the success stories. And I'm sure every success story would be happy to have a conversation with other entrepreneurs and tell them, how they've done it, because it's all different. And the more stories you can hear and how people have been successful in their own way, I think it's just can only help you.
Well, thank you, Chaz.
Thank you.